Dawn breaks over the East China Sea, painting the horizon with soft gold and crimson hues. The vast expanse of water, usually a symbol of calm and routine, today feels charged with an uneasy energy. In these early hours, a Chinese fishing vessel, the Minlongyu 61228, drifts quietly, its nets trailing in the water, the crew hoping for a good catch but wary of what the day might bring. Suddenly, the calm is shattered as a Japanese Coast Guard ship appears, engines humming, cutting through the morning mist to surround the Minlongyu. The fishing boat's engines fall silent, the crew frozen in place, their faces etched with anxiety as the Japanese vessel blocks every possible escape route, making it clear that this is no ordinary encounter. This is no routine inspection. It's a flashpoint in a long-standing territorial dispute, where every move is watched, every gesture loaded with meaning. The Japanese captain, following strict orders from Tokyo, regards the Minlongyu as an illegal intruder in Japan's exclusive economic zone, a violation that cannot go unanswered. The Chinese crew, caught between fear and defiance, realize that their daily work has suddenly become a matter of national pride and international rivalry. Their faces show not just worry, but a stubborn resolve. They know the world is watching. The Japanese officers move in, documenting every step with cameras and notepads, aware that this incident will spark a diplomatic storm and that every detail could become evidence in a larger international debate. For the fishermen, it's about survival, feeding their families and returning home safely. For the nations involved, it's about sovereignty, power, and the right to control these resource-rich waters. As Japanese officers prepare to board, tension thickens in the salty air. The world is reminded how quickly peace can unravel in these contested waters, where a single misstep could escalate into something far greater. This is more than a fishing dispute. It's a symbol of the fragile balance in the Indo-Pacific, a region where economic interests, national pride, and historical grievances intersect. The confrontation is a microcosm of a much larger conflict, where history, international law, and national identity collide, each side clinging to its own narrative and sense of justice. The Minlongyu's seizure is set to become a headline, igniting passions on both sides of the East China Sea. Newsrooms buzz, social media erupts, and governments brace for the fallout. In these waters, every encounter is loaded with meaning far beyond the catch of the day. Each net cast, each ship intercepted, is a statement about who belongs and who decides. The stage is set for a crisis that could ripple far beyond the horizon, threatening to draw in neighbors, allies, and rivals alike, and reminding the world just how fragile peace can be in these stormy seas. The Japan Coast Guard's official report leaves no room for doubt. At the break of dawn, the massive patrol ship Shikishima intercepted the Chinese fishing vessel Minlongyu 61228. The operation unfolded in the pale morning light, with the Shikishima's crew on high alert, scanning the horizon for any sign of resistance or evasion. The interception took place 12 nautical miles inside what Japan claims as its exclusive economic zone, in the volatile waters near the disputed Senkaku, known as Diaoyu in China, islands. These waters are not just lines on a map, but a flashpoint where national pride and economic interests collide. Despite repeated radio warnings and loudspeaker commands, the Chinese vessel did not alter course or comply. Armed Japanese Coast Guard officers, prepared for any scenario, boarded the Minlongyu, asserting their authority in a tense and uncertain moment. The captain, Zhang Wei, was arrested on the spot for violating Japanese fisheries law. His crew was detained, and the entire vessel was towed under heavy guard to Okinawa, where Japanese authorities began their investigation. The scene was tense, with both sides aware of the international implications. News cameras and journalists captured every moment of the operation, knowing that the world's eyes would soon be watching. The footage was broadcast across Asia, fueling speculation and debate. In response, Chinese state media quickly launched a counter-narrative, portraying the Minlongyu as an innocent victim of Japanese aggression, operating in what they insist are traditional Chinese fishing grounds. The Chinese government wasted no time. At a press conference in Beijing, officials demanded the immediate release of the crew, denouncing the seizure as both illegal and a deliberate provocation. The rhetoric was sharp, signaling a hardening of positions. Back in China, the families of the detained fishermen gathered in their rural villages, holding up photos and pleading for their loved ones' return. To them, these men are not political pawns, but fathers, sons, and husbands simply trying to make a living at sea. The facts on the water are stark, but the interpretations are deeply contested. A Chinese vessel seized, a crew arrested, and two powerful nations locked in a dispute over where maritime rights begin and end. Japan insists it is simply enforcing its laws and protecting its sovereignty. China, meanwhile, accuses Japan of unlawful abduction and violating the rights of its citizens. Now, the fate of the crew and the future of the vessel rest not just with the courts, but in the hands of diplomats and negotiators. Behind closed doors, officials from both countries weigh their next moves, aware that any misstep could inflame tensions further. This incident is more than a simple legal case. It has become a test of national resolve, a measure of each country's willingness to defend its interests, and a challenge for international diplomacy in a region already fraught with tension. As the world watches, the crisis threatens to escalate far beyond the decks of a single fishing boat, raising the stakes for peace and stability in the East China Sea. Tokyo's press conference is measured. Officials speak in calm, deliberate tones, projecting an image of control and responsibility to both domestic and international audiences. The Japanese government asserts that the seizure was a lawful act, carried out to enforce Japan's rights within its exclusive economic zone. They emphasize that their actions are not provocative, but rather a necessary step to protect their maritime interests and uphold established boundaries. The Chief Cabinet Secretary insists the Coast Guard acted with restraint, upholding international law at every step. He points to Japan's long-standing commitment to peaceful dispute resolution and adherence to global maritime norms. Japan frames itself as a responsible maritime nation, simply policing its own waters and ensuring the safety of its citizens and resources. Officials stress that their actions are defensive, not aggressive. Meanwhile, Beijing's response is immediate and fierce, signaling the seriousness with which China views the incident. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian calls the seizure a grave violation of China's sovereignty, demanding the immediate release of the detained crew and a formal apology from Tokyo. He accuses Japan of escalating tensions and disregarding China's legitimate claims. China insists the waters are traditional fishing grounds, and the islands have been inherently Chinese for generations. Officials highlight historical records and past agreements to bolster their case. Each side crafts its narrative. Japan appeals to international law and order, while China invokes history, national pride, and the rights of its people. The dispute becomes not just about territory, but about identity and legitimacy. For Tokyo, it's about legal process, territorial integrity, and maintaining the rule of law in the region. For Beijing, it's about defending its citizens, protecting historical rights, and standing firm against perceived encroachment. Both governments speak directly to their domestic audiences, fueling nationalism and deepening the divide. Public sentiment hardens as media coverage intensifies, making compromise even more difficult. The incident becomes a stage for competing stories: law versus legacy, order versus outrage, each side unwilling to yield ground. Neither side is willing to back down, and the chasm between them only widens as diplomatic efforts stall and military posturing increases. The world watches as rhetoric hardens, the stakes rise, and the risk of escalation looms ever larger over the East China Sea. The 1997 China-Japan Fisheries Agreement was meant to prevent conflict, but left key areas, like the waters near the Senkaku Diaoyu Islands, ambiguous. Japan claims its laws apply in its full exclusive economic zone, citing international conventions. China disputes these boundaries, arguing for traditional rights and shared use. The result, a legal gray zone where both sides enforce their own rules and fishermen are caught in the crossfire. The agreement's complexity now fuels confrontation, not cooperation. Until sovereignty is resolved, the legal maze will keep producing flashpoints like this. The East China Sea is a vital fishing ground, sustaining communities in both China and Japan. For China, dwindling coastal stocks make these waters crucial for food security and national policy. Fishing boats double as symbols of sovereignty, encouraged by government subsidies. In Japan, the industry is smaller but deeply tied to local identity and tradition. Japanese fishermen feel threatened by larger Chinese fleets, pressuring Tokyo to defend maritime boundaries. Every incident threatens livelihoods and stokes economic rivalry. The struggle for fish is inseparable from the struggle for national pride. The dispute is haunted by history. China's memory of Japanese occupation and the island's legacy as symbols of past injustice. For China, every confrontation revives old wounds and demands a tough response. In Japan, there's frustration at being held to account for history, fueling its own nationalism. Both governments are trapped by public sentiment, unable to show weakness. The fishing boat becomes a symbol in a much larger struggle over memory and identity. History's echoes make compromise ever more elusive. Every standoff in these waters risks spiraling out of control. A single misstep, an accidental collision, or aggressive maneuver could trigger military escalation. Nationalist pressure in both countries pushes leaders toward confrontation. The 2010 trawler incident is a stark reminder of how quickly crises can escalate. Hotlines and crisis management are vital, but the forces of nationalism are hard to contain. Both sides know the cost of conflict, but the risk remains dangerously real. The U.S. urges restraint, reminding all parties that the disputed islands fall under its security treaty with Japan. This emboldens Tokyo and frustrates Beijing, complicating the crisis. The EU and Southeast Asian nations call for dialogue and adherence to international law. The world is watching, aware that escalation could threaten regional stability and global trade. International pressure raises the diplomatic cost of conflict. The message is clear: resolve disputes through law, not force. The crisis is now a global concern, not just a regional one. As tempers cool, diplomacy takes center stage. Behind the scenes, both sides seek a face-saving solution: a legal process in Japan, followed by the crew's release and the vessel's return. Each government claims victory for its domestic audience. The incident exposes the urgent need for better crisis management and clearer rules. Revisiting the fisheries agreement may be necessary to prevent future clashes. The choice is stark: continue down a path of confrontation or embrace cooperation and communication. The peace of the Indo-Pacific depends on choosing diplomacy over conflict.